In this video, I'm building the entire life story of Captain America in Lego. From a skinny man getting rejected by the army to training to transform into a super soldier and joining the Avengers and fighting bad guys. This is Steve Rogers, a young man who wants to fight for his country. He's in a waiting room for which I built the room with some windows as well as a doorway with a clock above it. There are a few men waiting to join the army and Steve cannot wait. He goes up to the doctor, but unfortunately he doesn't get to join the army. For the next scene, I'm building a cinema and I've always loved watching movies at the cinema as a kid, so this is so cool to build. I made the room and added 2 rows of chairs and now the movie starts. And some guy starts talking bad about what's on the screen, so Steve tells him to stop. He gets angry and they go to the alley next to the building. I added some trash cans as well as paper and dirt on the floor. Here, Steve receives a punch and tries to defend himself with the lid of a trash can, but it doesn't work. Now, I was really rooting for Steve at this point in the movie. Then Bucky shows up and he saves Steve. And next, Steve gets accepted into the Super Soldier program, which we're building next. And for this, I built a giant grass plane with some trees, and now Steve can put on his military outfit. Then I grabbed some more soldiers and now they're all ready to become super soldiers. For Agent Carter, Lego unfortunately only released this minifigure, so I'm gonna have to make it myself. I bought these pieces and made her, and now she looks pretty good, and Hodge thinks so too. First, we must build a place for them to sleep, so I grabbed some brown bricks and built this barrack. Then I filled in the floor and made this comfy bed with a couple of pieces where a minifigure can sleep. And I built a bunch of them, so now they can all get some rest before training tomorrow. They have to wake up super early and now training will begin. First, they all have to do 100 sit-ups and 1,000 push-ups. And Steve is barely able to keep up with everyone. And I challenge all of you to do 100 push-ups right now, so comment how many you did in a row. And I thought it would be super fun to make a little parkour, so I got this chain piece, and when you turn it like this, it turns into barbed wire. Now that is a big brain building technique, guys. So I grabbed a bunch more and added them. Here, the minifigures have to crawl under the barbed wire with their rifle, but Hodge kicks the wood and Steve gets his rifle stuck in the mud.
Roger! Get that rifle out of the mud!
Next, I have to hop through these tires, and for the final obstacle, I grabbed this net which I attached to 2 poles. And here the minifigures have to climb over. For the final part of the workout, they have to go on a long run and Steve can't keep up. Then they reach the halfway point, which is this white flagpole to which I attach the green flag. The instructor tells them that whoever gets the flag first will drive back with Agent Carter. So they all try to reach it, but none succeed. Then Steve removes the bolt and the pole falls down. Steve has successfully retrieved the flag, and this was actually one of my favorite scenes from the movie. So now he can drive back with Agent Carter, and I grabbed a bunch of parts, and now let's build a car. After all that training, the entire group is tired, so they have to eat some food and regain energy. So for this, I built an entire building, and on the ground floor we can find the cafeteria. And today, they are eating some strange soup. You really don't want to eat this soup, guys. It's very strange. On the second floor, we can find a classroom with a chalkboard where the commander teaches them all about tactics. Steve continues training and suddenly grenades get thrown in the middle of the group. And Rogers jumps on top of it. It appears to be a dummy, but he's still a hero. That night, Dr. Erskine visits Steve and tells him that he is the right choice for the super soldier serum. So next, we're building the transformation scene. Firstly, I built the base and grabbed a bunch of computer modules, and then I made this platform with a hole so the transformation pod can move backwards. And while rewatching this, I noticed the transformation pod is quite hard to design. But luckily I found this design by Commander Bricks and I built it, and it looks amazing. Now we can put Captain America in there and start the transformation. Now, Steve is ripped and Agent Carter loves it. Next, Steve goes to perform shows, and I don't have the parts to make this, so we're time traveling to where he goes to save the soldiers from Hydra. For this, I gave him a different outfit and a pilot helmet with some goggles. Now that looks really cool, guys. Now he can save the soldiers from Hydra. For this, I built the entire base from Hydra. I decided to make 2 prison cells where the soldiers can be held captive. And then I added these dirty beds for them to sleep on. Next, we need to make the army from Hydra. And for this, I got these heads with sunglasses as well as some biker helmets. I added these to some first order bodies and also made this custom gun with the energy of the Tesseract. I built a few of these soldiers, but we're missing Red Skull. So I placed an order on Bricklink and he arrived. And I used the head from Lord Elrond from the Lord of the Rings to make Hugo Weaving's face. And with that, Dr. Johann Schmidt is complete. Steve knocks out the guards and helps all the prisoners escape, and next he moves down the hallway and I made this room with a chair where Bucky is held captive and gets experimented on. Steve and Bucky run down the hall, and for the final scene in this building, I wanted to make the bridge. I built these two walkways with plates and added these grill pieces to make it look accurate. I used these robot arms and sticks as railing, and then I added the walkways to the build. Now we can add Captain America, Bucky, and Red Skull. Captain America punches him, but the Red Skull punches back. Then the bridge moves. Yes, I added this play feature. Cool, right? Next, Dr. Schmidt removes his mask and he reveals that he is the Red Skull. Red Skull escapes, and for the next scene, we're moving on to the final battle on the Valkyrie. This is the giant ship from Hydra, which will basically win the war for Hydra. For this, I grabbed a bunch of dark bluish gray wet plates and spent hours to build something. I've never built a plane before, so this is quite hard for me. Then I finally finished building the Valkyrie, and oh boy, it looks cool. There are two wings and even the cockpit with the Tesseract, and you can also add Red Skull and Captain America fighting each other. Red Skull grabs the Tesseract and disappears. Now Steve must bring the ship down, so I built some ice and now he can fly in. Next, Steve wakes up in a bedroom, so I added this bed as well as a cabinet with a radio on top of it, and he hears something suspicious on the radio. He runs through the wall and discovers that this is a fake room. To make the fake city illusion, I added a black frame as well as some buildings behind it. Next, Steve will join the Avengers, and for this we have to build the Avengers Tower. So I bought the set and built it. I gotta say that this set is huge, guys. Unfortunately, Loki and his minions invade Earth, and the Avengers have to stop them. They all assemble and fight them. Luckily they win, and over the years, Captain America finds out his best friend is still alive and he almost lifts the hammer from Thor. After this, Ultron shows up and they must fight him. For this, I will build the epic final battle, for which I built this platform with some snot bricks, and this is supposed to resemble a chunk of land which is going to fly up into the sky. I made part of an old church and added a lot of broken details. Now we can add Ultron and some Avengers and even Vision. They defeat Ultron, and Captain America also gets into a fight with Iron Man and some other Avengers on an airfield. The Infinity War comes around, and for this I want to build the final battle in Wakanda. I built some landscaping with lots of grass on the ground and some brown plates for dirt. Then I added Captain America with his beard as well as Vision and Wanda. Next, Thanos will show up and try to steal the final Infinity Stone. This minifigure doesn't have an Infinity Gauntlet, so I bought it and added all 5 Infinity Stones. Now Thanos can show up and they all fight him. Cap is no match for Thanos and gets owned. Then Wanda destroys the Mind Stone, but Thanos turns back time and retrieves the stone. Then Thanos almost snaps his finger, but Thor shows up. Cap suddenly sees Bucky disappear and how he's very sad. He and the Avengers come up with a plan to retrieve all the Infinity Stones from the past. So they travel to 2012, and after retrieving the scepter with the Mind Stone, Cap suddenly sees himself. They have an intense battle and he eventually wins. Over time, they collect all 6 Infinity Stones and gather back at the Avengers headquarters. Here, the Hulk wears the new Infinity Gauntlet and snaps his fingers. Then Thanos shows up, and now Cap, Tony, and Thor will have to fight Thanos. They have an epic fight, and Thor almost gets defeated. Cap fights Thanos, and all the other Avengers and heroes show up to help fight Thanos.
Avengers! Assemble.
Then Thanos retrieves the gauntlet and almost snaps his fingers, but luckily Tony stops him.
Huh?
Thanos disappears and the battle has been won. Unfortunately, Cap's friend Iron Man passes away. Now he has to return the stones to the correct moments in time, so he goes back and then he decides to try some of that life Tony was telling him to get.